Hi friends, this is Advocate Sandeep Dhuma. This is our first video of the series Awareness about RERA. Friends, this is not the first time when the government has enacted an act to regulate the housing industry. It was in 1963 when the demand of houses were increasing and there were promoters increasing in this industry. There were several attempts wherein it was seen that a white collar crime is coming up from this industry, and to regulate that white collar crime, the government thought of enacting an act which will regulate this industry, because earlier it was not regulated by any special act. So in 1963 we got the first regulatory act for this housing industry, and this act is popularly known as MOFA. This MOFA is amended several times, almost 22 times MOFA is amended. The last amendment was in 2008. MOFA, when it was enacted, the intent of the act was very clear, and it was read as an act to regulate for a certain period. Now this "for a certain period" word is been removed in the amendment of 2005, and now it is read as an act to regulate in the state of Maharashtra the promotion of the construction of, the sale and management and the transfer of flats on ownership basis. Now this was not the only act. There were several other acts which were introduced by the state government. The recent act before RERA was the Maharashtra Housing Regulation and Development Act 2012. This act was somewhat similar to the present RERA Act, but this was a state act. Even in this act, there was an authority. Authority was planned in this. But eventually, when the Central Act came into existence, this act was repealed by Section 92 of RERA Act. MOFA still exists. There is an ambiguity or say misperception that MOFA should exist as of today, because whenever there is a special act for a certain industry, definitely the prior act has to be repealed, and it is seen that there was an intent to repeal this act, but there are certain provisos to this repealment. So that is why we see that there are certain cases filed even today on the basis of MOFA. This is a different question. We'll have a separate video on this chapter. But now what we have to see is the enactment of RERA. So while deciding this, we need to understand that RERA is now a central act, and on the basis of this central act, every state has their own rules and regulations, and accordingly we have a set of Maharashtra Real Estate Rules and Regulations 2017. The common factor in all these acts till date, be it state act or be it central act, was to regulate the industry. The only thing why RERA has got such a hype is RERA has constituted a body which is called as a regulatory authority. The similar regulatory authority and appellate authority was also designed in the Maharashtra Housing Regulation and Development Act 2012. But now this being a central act, this supersedes, and in section 92 of RERA, it is clearly repealed. So Maharashtra Housing Regulation and Development Act does not exist now. So what we have in hand today is RERA, and we have to understand this RERA so that we can reduce the number of disputes, and so we are making this video. So we have got the background why RERA exists. Now what RERA talks about, let us understand. So friends, now we will discuss about the act in detail. This act consists of 92 sections. Out of these 92 sections, it is important to note section 1 to 21. If the promoter and allottees adhere to these sections, then definitely we can reduce the disputes. What is this section 1 to 21? It talks about the mandatory registration. It talks about how the project or the unit in the project has to be sold, when it has to be sold, the process of selling, and while registration, what are the necessary documents that are to be uploaded, which are eventually scrutinized by the authority, and then a registration certificate is granted to a project for a certain period, which is called as a completion period of the project. Now, the section also talks about the extension if required. What is the process to obtain extension to the completion period? The process of the project is divided into 3 steps. First is registration, then is the execution of the project, and final is the conveyance of the project land. So there are various circulars and orders issued by the authority time to time to elaborate the process. May it be of registration, may it be of execution, may it be of QPR, that is project update, so on. So it is my humble request to the allottees that they should go through section 19, which talks about their rights as well as duties. So if these duties are performed, then definitely the allottee can claim their rights. But what if the duties are not performed? Then definitely there is a bar to their claim. So we need to understand as an allottee section 19 in detail. But before doing this, when is this required? When you enter into the project, when you become an allottee of a certain project. But before becoming an allottee, there is a process wherein you figure out certain projects or you shortlist certain projects. Now, allottee has to be very clever to understand how he has to shortlist. First of all, first step of shortlist is that only the project which is registered with RERA should be shortlisted. Because if the project is not registered with RERA, then definitely there can be a dispute later on which cannot be addressed by any authority. And if the project is registered with RERA, definitely the authority has the power to decide the disputes among such projects. So while stepping in to the first process of shortlisting the project, it is necessary for the allottee to go to the RERA website and check all the details. Allottees have everything in hand today, and that can be checked on RERA website. They can check the track record of the promoter, they can check the commencement certificate, they can check the plans. Everything can be checked on RERA website, and only upon satisfaction to all these details you have to enter into registration document or say finalizing the project, giving the token amount and so on. While giving a token amount, there is a provision of allotment letter. The day you book the unit, the promoter has to issue you a allotment letter. That allotment letter clearly speaks about the project, the cancellation process, and the deduction if you cancel. So I would request the allottees that before entering into the allotment letter, it is necessary for you to check if you have the finances available, the sanction of the loan. Because it is seen many times that you get trapped into the sales pitch of the salesperson, and in a hurried manner you book the unit in a particular project, but later on it is known that the loans are not sanctioned, and then you have to cancel the unit. In this case, it is not the promoter's fault, so you will have to bear the cost, the cancellation cost. This cancellation cost depends on when you are cancelling after your confirmation of booking. The extent of deduction is up to 2%. If you cancel the project within 15 days, there is no deduction as per the rules and regulations of RERA. But if you communicate the cancellation of the booked unit after 15 days, then there are stages wherein the deduction will be decided. And this deduction cap is up to 2% of the agreement value. Please note this. Because you are paying 50,000 for a flat of say 1 crore rupees, then the deduction, the promoter's entitlement for deduction is of 2 lakh rupees. But you have paid 50,000, so you lose entire 50,000. So please be cautious before giving any check. Now, one more important factor, what we have noticed in recent matters that we have appeared in, that the allottees usually are now trapped in a process called as early bird booking or the token of interest. There are several names given by the sales agents and sales agencies. But this is not allowed in RERA because the promoter cannot take a single penny before the project is registered with RERA. So whenever you are giving such PDCs, most of the time this token of interest is taken in a PDC manner, which is completely violation of the provisions of law. Please note it. There is no such provision of token of interest in the Act. So whoever is doing this, being a promoter or the allottee who is paying this, is violating the rules and regulations. So whatever the salesperson is telling you can be verified on the website of RERA, and now the new website is really a very good website wherein the process of registration is really easy. We are going to make a different video for the promoters for registration of their projects. What precautions they need to take, how are the forms and formats made. It is definitely available on the RERA webpage as well, but in practical manner, it is not easy for the promoter to understand the forms, and how to fill the forms is a skill set at this point of time at least. So we are going to make a different video for that registration process as well. That will be for the promoters only. But the allottees need to understand that the data available on RERA website can give you the complete idea of the promoter, his track history, the delivery dates of the earlier project, the complaints that were registered in the earlier project. So on these informations available on RERA webpage, you can definitely choose a good project and minimize the risk of disputes later on. So these important documents are CC, track record of the promoter, sanctioned layout, the proposed number of buildings, and most importantly now in the new website, the details of booking are very clear. So you can even understand whether the unit that is being offered to you is earlier booked or not booked. Or sometimes it happens that the creamy units are kept aside and the salesperson tells you that no, this is not available. So you have to choose the other available unit, what the salesperson tells you. But you can verify the availability on RERA website. This is the very good thing in the new website. So allottees have a very good chance to choose wisely and to reduce the risk. We are not against the promoters, but definitely there are certain elements in all industries. Very few of them do wrong, but the blame is coming on the entire industry. So now when you have the availability of the records, you just have to cross verify the records and then decide wisely. Don't get carried away by what the sales pitch is done by the salesperson. Definitely they are there for sales, it is their bread and butter, so they will definitely try to influence you, but it is the allottee who has to be patient enough while booking. Don't get carried away. There is a huge lot of inventory available in the market, and if you choose it wisely, then your money will not be at risk, or at least you can reduce the risk. We don't claim that whatever is been mentioned on RERA website, only after reading that the risk will be 100% eradicated. No, that is not the case, because eventually what comes out to the promoter is going to impact you directly. So we can just reduce the risk by understanding the project. So if you don't know how to read this information available on RERA webpage, we can definitely help you out. We can definitely assist you in giving you our opinions on the available information, and you can cross check these opinions with the promoter and then negotiate with the promoter and accordingly enter into a good deal. So stay tuned for the further videos where we will be discussing about the process of investigation of the data that is available on RERA webpage, the track records and everything. And for the promoters, definitely the other video will be for the registration process, where you can get the registration done at the earliest, provided you have all the permissions in hand and all the forms are filled in a proper manner. Then I don't think so there is any reason for a delay of registration. So my friends, when everything is available in your hand, if you know how to read it, you can definitely be a wise buyer. Thank you.